This conference will now be recorded.
Hi there, Kirsty. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks, Melissa. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. Obviously, as things have continued to pick up with the pandemic, we're now getting ready to go into what can be defined as best as COVID round two, essentially. I know there are a lot of places that are in partial lockdown or considering re-lockdown altogether. So, for example, I know Ireland has completely locked down again. And people are not able to go anywhere. What has been your experience in the UK? Are you guys in the middle of a partial lockdown, a complete lockdown? How's that going so far?
How's it going? It's not really going anywhere. I think that's the problem. It feels like it's going round and round in circles. There's a lot of ambiguity and there's a lot of confusion. Different parts of the country are being told some things, and other parts are being told to do different things. So yeah, there's a lot of mixed opinion, mixed sentiments. A lot of people very, very anxious naturally, and people just generally getting a bit fed up. And I think it's this idea of going round and round in circles with it that's really making it all the harder to deal with, because it's as though there's no end point in sight. You think we're going to do something only to find we're back where we started. And I thought it would be quite good to actually talk about that point in particular, because I even have a copy of the book to hand. Nice. Exciting. Maudie, are you helping? Yeah. Okay. And it was really just to draw attention to this idea that when it feels like we're going round and round and round and round in a circle, and it's a never-ending cycle of anxiety and going back, I think you're going somewhere and then you're not, and then you come back and, oh, I'm got to start again. It's actually not true. It's actually more of a spiral. And when you start to realize that each time you come round, you're not coming back to exactly the same place. It's not possible, okay, because we have moved forward in time. You're coming back to a similar place. And what we have to do here is to understand the insight and the wisdom and the learning that we've had for coming round again. Because when we start to see things as a spiral, you can either go in either direction. You can either be a downward spiral, or it can actually be an up one, and you can choose this. You can choose different upward spiral effects. So it could be, here was where COVID started and we got into lockdown, and then, oh, it looks like we think we're getting out of it and we're going somewhere, and then, oh, we find ourselves back here. But when you take things as a spiral, yeah, you may be back at this point, but you're actually further up. It's like a ladder. You've actually climbed somewhere. So when you look back on the experience that you had first time round, can you compare what happened then? What was different and what was the same? How did you grow, or how did you struggle? And compare that to now. And use that as the opportunity to turn inward and to really examine what's important to you, what was important to you last time, what's important to you now, and how might that have changed. And even if it's a tiny change or something that's almost imperceptible, it will be there. And that's really the seed that you want to plant for you, because that's all about growth, and that's the thing you're going to nurture, and you're going to use the time now to to water and to allow the light on that seed so that it does grow and flourish. You don't have to feel that you're going round and round in circles and that it's a trap. You can make this decision to look back on the wisdom, look in the insight that you've gained within yourself and from those around you, and how things are different for them too, and take that learning and really start to push that as a spiral upward for yourself. And the more you do that, the more space you create for yourself, then actually the more energy, the more power you're giving yourself too. It's like a funnel, or like a tornado, but a good one.
No, that totally makes sense. And, here's a quick question for you. Authorities are warning right now of several different things. One of them is the fact that this period that we're getting ready to go into is going to be the darkest of the entire COVID process. So, in terms of, being smart, and in terms of managing anxiety, knowing that, how would you tell people to pre-plan for, what we know is going to be a difficult process?
Okay, so in terms of mental health and well-being, then the pre-planning here is in reaching out to others. It's in establishing a really good social network for yourself, especially where physically you can't always be present, and that's maybe going to be increasingly difficult. And that in itself provokes a lot of anxiety, the idea of isolation and loneliness. So now is the time to really start to understand your technology, to really understand the different methods that are available to you, and to make the best use of those. and also to work with yourself and the environment that you do have, and to expand on that. So if you have a garden, for example, perhaps you could think about planting some new seeds, something appropriate for going into wintertime, as it is for us here, or for summer, perhaps, if you're in the other side of the globe. Other things you might want to do is look at your creativity as well, to see, well, could this time be used and scheduled maybe so many hours a week to work on a creative project, or to explore creativity in itself, just to explore your ideas, or perhaps to step into a space of just being mindful and starting to work towards maybe a meditation practice. There doesn't have to be a particular goal in mind. It's the journey that matters. It's not the destination, because the destination doesn't really exist yet, right? We get where we're going when we get there, not before. So it's about what we do in the now. So reaching out to others, recognizing what's in our environment, and working with ourselves is a really great way to grow when you feel confined. In fact, by being somewhat confined and being restricted, you actually are encouraged to be more creative in how you go about things. So that would be my suggestion there for pre-planning.
That's great. And so one last question. I know that you're dealing with a lot of clients right now that, may be locked down, or that may be, going through something like that. So in terms of expanding that creativity, what activities would you suggest, aside from just gardening and things like that, to really get people going? What have you found that really works for you and that also works for your clients?
Something that people often forget about with creativity, it doesn't have to be an intellectual exercise. People often think, oh, well, it's got to be about how well you can draw or paint and things like this. Not at all. You don't even have to have any materials. It could be something as simple as movement, or using your voice. You could sing, just take time out just to sing to yourself. Just find somewhere with a bit of an echo, listen to the tone of your voice and work on it, enjoy it. Singing and dancing and moving are all incredibly therapeutic in themselves, because they help to raise the endorphin levels in the body. Also, they really help to kind of energize the full body as well. And we are embodied creatures, we do live physically in a physical body, and anxiety is very much a physical experience. It never is the case that it's all in your head, as though somehow the head is, disconnected from the rest of you. It's a holistic experience. So identify with that, and maybe acknowledge signs of anxiety as excitement, and use the energy to sing, to dance, to play. Maybe play with your kids, play with your pets. Whatever's in your environment, just connect with it more. And creativity, it's really about how you think. It's allowing yourself to think differently. It's how to overcome challenges, or how to try something from a different perspective. So as I said, it's not necessarily about having art supplies and art materials, or being able to sit down and go, right, I'm finally going to write that novel. That's great if you can do that. But don't put more anxiety onto yourself by having this goal in mind. It is literally just pick up something, or just take something from within yourself. Your voice, your limbs, your breath work, anything at all.
It's a good thing to know that I can actually try my painting and, allow it to look like chicken scratch and not worry about that fact, because I'm being, creative in that. Even if it looks terrible, I don't have to worry about it after him. That's actually very important. Well, Kirsty, any final parting words of advice you want to share with anyone?
Yeah, I think this is when we're restricted like this, we feel like we can't get to do things that the responsible adults in us feel we want to be doing. Then think like a child, or think like a cat, and go back to basics, and just explore. Be open-minded, and be willing to try things, uninhibited by all these expectations that we put on ourselves. So take it easy, be kind to yourself.
Awesome. That's really, really great advice. And Kirsty, so how are you enjoying it now that the book is out?
Yeah, it's great. It's nice to physically have it in my hands, and to see it, and to see Mark's brilliant cartoons in there as well, and also John's illustrations. It's just great. And lots of people have been enjoying getting a hold of it as well. And again, having been part of the process, having been along for the ride with us, Melissa, I think they all feel a little bit of a sense of accomplishment too. And so it's great. I mean, this is what came out of lockdown 1 for us. But you don't physically have to produce something in order to actually make huge moves in your own personal growth. It really is just coming to realizations of new things that you enjoy, things you forgot you enjoyed. As I said, go be like a cat, play like a kid, and just
Awesome.
enjoy being.
last question, and that is, I hear you have an upcoming interview coming with the other side and Jim Harold. Have you established the date for that yet, or is that still upcoming?
I can just tell you now, I think it's middle of November. So it is the 18th of November. That's when we're recording. Nice. So that's exciting and nerve-wracking too. I did say, but there'll be a list of questions. Like, no, you just go with the flow. So again, yep. Listen to yourself, take the path of least resistance, be like the river, and just run free.
Well, having been interviewed by Jim Harold and worked with him in the past, he's absolutely awesome. And those natural conversations just come about. So I know you'll do great. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we will chat again soon. Thank you, Kirsty Lucinda Allan.
Thanks, Melissa. Take care.
Thank you.